Dear students, I welcome you all. Today I am going to talk about pollinators, attractions and rewards for them. Pollination is an extraordinarily important event in the sexual reproduction of flowering plants. Pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the same or a different flower. This transfer is brought about by many agencies such as wind, water, insects, birds, bats and other organisms. Among these agents, wind and water being abiotic or non-living agencies, the flowers pollinated by them need not develop visual and olfactory cues. They also need not pay rewards in the form of nectar or pollen to these abiotic pollinators in turn to their pollination service. Thus, flowers pollinated by water and wind are basically colorless, odorless and nectarless. On the other hand, the flowers which are pollinated by the biotic agencies with insects, birds, bats develop special cues to attract them for bringing about their pollination. These cues include flower color, flower fragrance, flower shape and flower aggregations. The flowers pay a reward to the pollinators which may be food such as nectar and pollen or some other benefits such as shelter, egg-laying space and other chemicals helping the pollinators. Let us first talk about the attractants or flower attributes which attract the pollinators. The various attributes of the flowers which are aimed at somehow gaining the attention of other organisms, pollinators, and enhancing their temptation to visit them again and again are called as attractants. The pollinators are mostly guided by visual and olfactory senses to visit the flowers. Accordingly, the attractants are of the following major types: A. Visual attractants, B. Olfactory attractants, C. Acoustic attractants. Let us first talk about the visual attractants. The flower attributes which are attractive and visible to pollinators' visual sense, such as flower color and form, are called as visual attractants. Thus, the pollinators which have a strong visual sense and differentiate colors are able to visit the colorful flowers. These attractants are usually an honest advertisement of the reward which these colorful flowers have to offer to pollinators in lieu for their visitation. Flower color. Flower color is important in pollination biology because several pollinating taxa do have good color vision and have specific color preferences. Flower color serves as a strong attractant for pollinators. For example, beetles have a color preference for white, cream, yellow or green flowers. Therefore, beetle pollinated flowers are usually dull white or cream colored. Many generalist flies that visit flowers have a preference for yellow or yellow and white flowers. Specialist flower visiting flies such as syrphids and bombylids have preferences for pink, purple or blue flowers. The carrion flies are attracted by brown, deep red colored flowers mimicking a decomposing flesh color or other decomposing material. Butterflies like white, yellow, orange, pink and red color. The primitive ones such as nymphalids prefer yellow and other pink and red blossoms. Nocturnal moths usually prefer strong whites, creams, pastel shades that are conspicuous in poor light, but they require strong odor cues. Bees vary in their choice and commonly like flowers towards blue end of the spectrum. So, bee pollinated flowers have predominantly blue or violet colors which effectively attract bees for their pollination. Bats, being nocturnal, are not visually guided. The color of bat pollinated flowers may be white, cream, dull green or dull purple. Birds have a strong visual sense and show preference for red and orange colored flowers. Thus, bird pollinated flowers are red or orange in color. The hummingbird pollinated flowers are pendulous, as hummingbirds are hovering vectors and don't need a platform for landing or perching. Sunbirds and honey eaters, on the other hand, need a platform for landing. Thus, the form in such bird pollinated flowers is adapted accordingly. There is a phenomenon called bullseye in floral biology. Some flowering plants develop specific color patterns in their flowers called as bullseye to attract their pollinators. Helps flowers mark their position in the environment against the background. In Rudbeckia, the center of the flower is black, which is the prominent target or bullseye surrounded by the yellow colored ring. Hemerocallis flower also shows a distinct bullseye consisting of light colored center surrounded by a dark colored ring. The forget me not, that is Myosotis, also shows a prominent bullseye. The bullseye is yellow colored surrounded by blue colored ring. Giardia also shows a yellow bullseye with surrounding red and yellow rings. Another important feature in the angiosperm basically are nectar guides. The nectar guides are color patterns of flowers which radiate from the nectar source which the plant produces as reward for the pollen vectors or pollinators. The nectar guides may be in the form of spots or stripes which guide the pollinator to a particular spot in the flower, which may be the location of the nectar or other reward. The nectar guides can be seen in the flowers of viola, digitalis, iris, lily and many other flowers. These color patterns may change with the age of the flower or after pollination, which indicate the status of the flower. In Aesculus, the yellow spot nectar guides change and turn red as the flowers age and stop nectar production. This change acts as a cue to bumblebees to ignore these flowers. Flower shape and size is also an attractant. The flower shape also plays a significant role in attracting pollinators. The size of flowers is also correlated with the size of pollinators. The bat and bird pollinated flowers are usually large sized as compared to the ones pollinated by bees and other insects. The small flowers are aggregated to form a large display which proves effective in attracting the pollinators from a distance. The flower shapes are also recognized by insects. Bees can recognize and distinguish between symmetric and asymmetric flowers. Flowers which are pollinated by hovering pollinators are generally pendulous with long styles and filaments. Beetle pollinated flowers have simple shapes with simple entrance, as beetles are clumsy in flight. Non-hovering insects and birds require a landing platform as part of a flower. Thus, the design of a flower is related to the vector which visits it. Besides, the specific design of a flower helps it to conceal nectar and pollen from the nectar and pollen robbers, while allowing only specific vectors to gain entrance to the resource. This flower form pollinator specificity has resulted in pollinator specialization in plants. The flower form as attractant has achieved its highest level in the orchid Ophrys, where the flower shape resembles the shape of the female of its pollinator, which in the act of pseudocopulation pollinates this orchid. The hovering insects such as moths and hummingbirds do not need a landing platform and carry out pollination without landing on or around the flower. Now we come to the acoustic attraction, sonadesic in the bat pollinated flowers. Margravia evinia, a newly discovered Cuban rainforest vine, has developed a distinctively shaped concave leaf next to its flowers, which is believed to be a reminiscent of a dish reflector. This leaf acts as an ideal echo beacon, sending back strong multidirectional echoes with an easily recognizable and unvarying acoustic signature, perfect for making the flower obvious to echolocating bats. This echo beacon benefits both the bats and the vine. It enhances the foraging efficiency of bats and thus enhances the number of visits received by the plant for materializing its pollination. Now we come to the second class of attractants, which are also called as chemical attractants or odor and olfaction. Although visual signals are known to attract pollinators, but the ability of pollinators in general and insects in particular to detect and respond to scents or odors makes the latter major component of flower attractants to visiting animals. Flower fragrance or floral scents are basically the outcome of synthesis of volatile essential organic compounds. These scents are typically lipophilic organic compounds with low molecular weight and are able to pass through the membranes and diffuse into the atmosphere readily. The volatility of these organic compounds is a function of their molecular size, thus the distance they can be diffused from the plant at a particular time. The scent produced by a flower is a chemical mixture of different components found in a specific ratio characteristic of each species. This characteristic smell or scent of each species becomes an isolating mechanism between plant species, each odor potentially attracting different pollinators. It is pertinent to mention that the scent may comprise of few to hundreds of components, out of which all are not important as signals to pollinators. For example, in sunflower, the scent is composed of about 130 to 150 constituents, of which only 30 are necessary to produce the characteristic sunflower odor perceived by the honeybees. The floral odor varies with the type of pollinator. Beetles visit flowers which have chamber morphology and are thermogenic, such as those of Annonaceae. Their commonly emitted volatiles include methoxylated benzoids. Sapromyophilous flowers, which are pollinated by flies, mimic the scent of carrion, attracting fly pollinators that are deceived into laying eggs on them. The odor of these flowers may vary from mildly unpleasant to truly nauseating odors. Chemically, these nauseating agents include scatols and aminoids, which are emitted from Araceae, Aristolochiaceae, Stapelia, Rafflesia, etc. Butterfly flowers. When we talk about butterfly flowers, butterfly pollinated flowers are commonly weakly scented, indicating a poorly developed olfactory sense in butterflies. Nonetheless, butterflies respond to and are attracted by these flower scents. Moths being nocturnal, visit light colored flowers during night. The moth pollinated flowers are heavily scented, having sweet fragrance which is nocturnally emitted. These scents contain acyclic terpenes, benzoids and indolic compounds which are detected by moths from a long distance. Bee flowers produce sweet and fragrant odor. The bees have a strong olfactory sense and thus are strongly attracted by these floral scents. The bee orchid Ophrys emits chemicals which mimic pheromones of bees and wasps, thus attracting these insects for pollination. These chemical attractants include farnesol, hydroxycitronilol and V-cadenine. Then we come to the bat flowers. The flowers which are visited by bats are dull colored, as bats are nocturnal and blind to visual cues. Thus, bat pollinated flowers produce a strong smell which is disagreeable, musty or sour milk smell, which proves very effective in attracting the bats for pollination. Now we come to hummingbird and perching bird flowers. Birds don't have an olfactory sense, thus bird pollinated flowers are usually odorless. Now we come to the second part of our lecture, that is rewards to pollinators. Reward in pollination biology is considered as any component of a flower or inflorescence used by the vectors, and because of this use ensures repeated visitation that will lead to pollination. Nectar and pollen are the primary rewards offered by flowers to visiting animals for buying their services as agents of pollen transport or pollination. The nectar and pollen as floral reward fulfill the nutritional needs of the pollinators. The floral rewards are classified into the two groups: one, nutritional rewards, second, non-nutritional rewards. Let us first talk about nutritional rewards. Nectar and pollen are the primary rewards offered by plants to their pollinators. Nectar is a plant secretion in which a diverse set of chemical compounds are dissolved or suspended in an aqueous solution. These compounds include sugars, lipids, amino acids, proteins, minerals, vitamins, phenolic compounds, terpenoids, dextrins, alkaloids, and also some organic acids. The secretion of nectar is a complex physiological process of special glands called nectaries. It is a well-known fact that nectar is having a major component in the form of sugars. The three major sugar constituents of nectar are sucrose, glucose and fructose. These sugars occur in different proportions in the nectars of different families. Open ball shaped flowers which are pollinated by generalist anthophyles with short lapping mouthparts produce generally hexose rich nectar. The flowers which are pollinated by long tongued bees, butterflies and moths produce sucrose rich nectar. The sugars in the nectar may be put to different uses by insects, but the ingested sugar is generally used for releasing energy for locomotion, development, maintenance, progeny production, and in some instances into heat generation or thermoregulation. Now we come to the second constituent of the nectar, and that is amino acids. The amino acids are also known to be important constituents of the nectar. These amino acids are important for the nectarivorous insects as they are known to be building blocks for proteins. All the 20 types of amino acids which are the constituent of proteins are found in the nectars. However, they differ in their availability in the nectars. Alanine, arginine, serine, proline and glycine are the most commonly occurring amino acids in the nectar, while as histidine, tryptophan and methionine are found scarcely. In addition to their nutritive function, the amino acids act as feeding stimulants and taste modifiers. Proteins and lipids are also important constituents of the nectar. Proteins, though in small amounts, are also found to be as constituents of nectar. They are probably known to have enzymatic roles in the nectar. Thus, the nectar also offers proteins to the pollinating organisms. In addition to proteins, lipids are also found to occur in the nectar solutions. Sterols and polyunsaturated fatty acids are the two classes of lipids which are found in the insect feeding nectar. In addition to their nutritional value, the lipids are also known to form a waterproofing monolayer on some nectars and thus retard the evaporation of water. The nectar, in addition to sugars, amino acids and other compounds, offers water to the visitors, thus proving very important in maintaining the water balance of the insects and other pollinating agents. Watery nectar in hot and dry environments fulfills both nutritional and water requirements of the pollinating agents. Nectar is also known to have metal ions in it. The metal ions are also known to be important constituents of the floral nectar. K positive potassium ion is the major cation of most nectars, constituting 35 to 75% of the total ion content in nectars. The other common cations which are found in the nectars include sodium, it is 17.9%, calcium, which constitutes 12.8% of the nectar, magnesium, it is 5.9%, aluminum is 4.6%, iron 1.2% and manganese 0.8%. The other compounds found in the nectar include non-protein amino acids, glycosides, alkaloids and phenolics. Some flowers produce oil as a reward in lieu of the nectar. The glands which secrete oil are called as eliophores. The insects such as centris of Anthophoridae have special tarsal brushes for handling this oil, which may be mixed with the pollen to form food pellets for the larvae or progeny. Now we move to the second category of the rewards, that is pollen. Pollen is also offered as a nutritional reward to pollinating insects by some plants. In the evolutionary history of pollination, pollen is conceived to be the initial primary reward which flowers offer to the pollinators, but with the evolution of nectar as reward, it is supposed to be of secondary importance as a reward. As reward, pollen is a vital food for many insects such as springtails, beetles, larvae bees, thrips, flies, orthopteroids, etc. Pollen is having a very high nutritive value and is rich in proteins, peptides, amino acids and lipids. The sugars are less common in pollen than nectar. Some pollen do store starch as source of energy for pollen development, while as some pollen store lipids as reserve food material for pollen development. Lipid-rich pollen is usually found in species which offer only pollen as floral reward to pollinators. The lipid-rich pollen include sterols, which are used by the insects as building blocks for their hormones and pheromones. The pollen reward also provides vitamins, pigments, and other nutritive substances to the consumer insects. Now we come to the non-nutritional rewards offered by flowers to their pollinators. In addition to nutritional rewards, some flowers offer some other rewards to their pollinators. These include breeding sites, sleeping sites, non-fragrant perfumes, warmth and protection. Breeding sites. The flowers of yucca provide brood chambers for its moth pollinator Tachycula, which deposits its ovipost in the yucca flower. The larvae of this moth can develop only inside the yucca flower, and yucca is only pollinated by this moth. Similarly, aganoid wasp uses the special Hypanthodium inflorescence of fig as a breeding site and pollinates the fig flowers. Sleeping sites. The flowers of Stapias are unique in the plant kingdom. These flowers present sleeping holes to bees as a reward for pollination. The inflorescences of beetle pollinated palms and arides are also known to provide shelter as reward to their pollinating visitors. Non-nutritional fragrance as a non-nutritional reward. The perfume flowers produce a typical liquid fragrance. It is a mixture of terpenoids, benzoids and hydrocarbons which attracts the male bees of Euglossinae that pollinate these flowers. The male bees of Euglossinae are known to collect this aroma or fragrance as reward from the flowers, which they use as pheromones for attracting and in mating display. This is best seen in the orchid tribes Catastinae, Stanhopinae and Lycostinae, which produce such perfumes as an attractant and reward. Warmth. The production of heat or thermal energy by arum inflorescence is conceived as a reward to its pollinators. The heat produced by the flowers warms the pollinators and thus modifying their behavior. Protection. Insects find protection in the blossom. This makes some insects such as thrips, small flies, beetles, etc. to spend more time in the flowers and thus carry their pollination. Dear students, with this we come to the end of today's lecture. I take your leave and hope to see you in the next lecture.